Hey everyone, welcome back. I hope you're having a wonderful and peaceful day today. Today, we're diving deep into a beautifully emotional moment. After defying his sister, CEO Khan finally sits down for a quiet dinner with Mai at her farm. Will this heartfelt night bring them closer, or will Mai's fears of being a burden pull them apart again? If you're already hooked, don't forget to hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss what happens next. Let's begin. The last traces of daylight had faded behind the dense bamboo forest when Khan's car finally turned onto the narrow dirt path leading to Mai's farm. The headlights swept across the familiar wooden fence, casting long, gentle shadows over the vegetable beds Mai had tended earlier that day. The small wooden house stood quietly at the center of the clearing, its windows glowing with a soft, warm light that spilled out like an invitation. The air smelled of damp earth, fresh herbs, and the faint smoke from the kitchen fire. Mai had been busy since returning from the garden. She had changed into a simple, pale blue shirt with sleeves rolled up and a clean apron tied around her waist. Her hair was loosely tied back, a few strands escaping to frame her face. She moved around the modest kitchen with quiet purpose, steaming a whole fish with ginger and scallions, stir-frying vegetables she had harvested only hours ago, and cooking a pot of fragrant jasmine rice. Every motion carried both nervousness and hope. When she heard the low rumble of Khan's car, her heart skipped. She quickly wiped her hands on the apron and stepped onto the wooden porch. The night air was cool against her skin. Khan stepped out of the car, still wearing the same white dress shirt from the long day, now slightly rumpled. Their eyes met across the small yard. For a moment, neither spoke. "You're here," Mai said softly, her voice carrying a mixture of relief and shy happiness. Khan closed the car door and walked up the steps, his gaze never leaving her face. "I promised I would come for dinner. Something smells wonderful." Mai smiled, a small, genuine curve of her lips that reached her eyes. "It's nothing fancy, just what I could make from the garden. Come inside." She led him into the house. The interior was simple but warm. Wooden walls polished by years of use. A low table already set with bowls and chopsticks, and a single lamp hanging from the ceiling that bathed everything in a golden hue. Khan removed his shoes at the door out of habit and followed her. The scent of the food wrapped around him like a comforting embrace. They sat across from each other at the low table. Steam rose gently from the dishes. Mai served him first, a generous piece of fish, some stir-fried morning glory, and a bowl of rice. Her hands moved with careful attention. "I made the fish the way you mentioned once," she said quietly, not meeting his eyes. "With extra ginger, because I remember you said it helps with tiredness." Khan looked at the food, then at her. Something in his chest tightened. "Thank you, Mai. This means more than you know." They began eating in a comfortable silence at first. The only sounds were the soft clink of chopsticks and the distant chirping of crickets outside. Khan took a bite and closed his eyes for a second, savoring the taste. "It's delicious," he said sincerely. "Better than any restaurant in the city." Mai's cheeks flushed slightly. She smiled down at her bowl. "I'm glad. I was worried it wouldn't turn out well." As they ate, the tension from the earlier days slowly melted away. Khan watched her across the table, the way she tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, the small furrow of concentration when she picked out bones from the fish. He remembered the first time he had seen her, the day she saved his company with nothing but quiet determination and kindness. And now, here she was, cooking for him in this tiny wooden house surrounded by bamboo. After a while, Khan set his chopsticks down. The lamplight softened the lines of his face. Today has been long, but sitting here with you makes everything feel lighter. Mai looked up, her eyes meeting his. There was a vulnerability in her gaze that she no longer tried to hide. I felt the same when I was planting today. Every time I thought about you coming, my hands stopped shaking. Khan reached across the table and gently covered her hand with his. His palm was warm, steady. Mai didn't pull away. Instead, she turned her hands slightly so their fingers could intertwine. I meant what I said earlier, he continued, voice low and earnest. I don't want you to run anymore. Not from me, not from us. My sister had good intentions, but she doesn't understand what we've been through. She doesn't know how much you've given me. Mai's thumb brushed lightly against his knuckles. I was so scared that day she came to the farm. I thought, if I stayed, I would only bring trouble to your family. I didn't want you to choose between me and them. Khan shook his head slowly. There is no choice to make. You are not a burden. You are the reason I'm still here, still fighting. When the company was falling apart, you stayed up nights helping with the documents, encouraging the workers, believing in me when I almost gave up. How could I ever let you go? Tears welled up in Mai's eyes, but she blinked them back. I've always been strong on my own. After becoming a single mum, I learned I had to be. But when you found me again, when you said this is my home, something inside me wanted to believe I could lean on someone. The silence that followed was heavy with emotion. Khan squeezed her hand gently. Then lean on me. Let me be the one who protects you now. I am not perfect. I have a complicated family, a demanding job, but for you, I'm willing to face all of it. Mai looked at their joined hands. A single tear finally escaped and rolled down her cheek. She didn't wipe it away this time. I want to try, Khan. I want to stay. I want to see what we can become together. Khan's other hand reached up to gently brush the tear from her cheek with his thumb. His touch was incredibly tender. We'll take it one day at a time. No pressure, just us, this farm, and whatever future we build. They stayed like that for a long time. Hands intertwined, hearts slowly opening. Outside, the bamboo leaves rustled softly in the night breeze. Inside the small wooden house, the lamplight flickered warmly, illuminating two people who had found their way back to each other. After dinner, they cleared the table together. Mai washed the dishes, while Khan dried them, their shoulders occasionally brushing. The simple domestic act felt intimate and right. When everything was clean, they stepped out onto the porch. The night sky was clear, stars scattered like diamonds above the dark silhouette of the bamboo forest. They stood side by side, leaning against the wooden railing. Khan's arm rested lightly around Mai's shoulders. She leaned into him just a little. "I never thought I would have this again," Mai whispered. "A place to belong, someone who chooses me." "You have it now," Khan replied, his voice steady. "And I'm not going anywhere." They remained there for a long while, wrapped in comfortable silence, watching the stars. In that quiet moment, surrounded by the peaceful farm, the fragile love between CEO Khan and Mai began to feel stronger, like the first green shoots pushing through the soil after a long rain. The night deepened, but neither wanted it to end. For the first time in years, both of them felt truly hopeful about tomorrow. In this emotional episode, CEO Khan arrives at Mai's quiet wooden house as night falls over the bamboo forest. Mai has prepared a simple, heartfelt dinner using vegetables from her own garden. As they share the warm meal, the atmosphere slowly fills with tenderness and vulnerability. Khan openly expresses his determination to protect Mai and never let her run away again. Mai, deeply moved, finally admits her fear of becoming a burden, but also her desire to stay and lean on him. Through gentle touches and sincere words, the two grow closer, sharing a quiet yet powerful moment of trust and hope. Under the starry sky on the wooden porch, their fragile love begins to bloom into something stronger. A beautiful chapter of healing, protection, and new beginnings unfolds in this heartfelt farm dinner.